MyMichelleLive Podcast.
MyMichelleLive. MyMichelleLive. Sports Timeout. The fans, the field, the faith, the fun. Here's Michelle.
I am Michelle Mendoza, and this is My Michelle Live, where we are going to take on sports, the sports stories of the week, all of the fun and the fanfare, but we also unspin some of the weird news, and we look for the God story. If there's a God, what is he doing in all of this? And how does God relate to sports? That's pretty easy. Sports is an analogy for life. So all of the inspiration, all of the great stories in there somewhere, we can find ways to give honor and glory to Christ and find ways that the God story works in your life. Let me introduce you to the cast of characters. He is a pastor. He is a coach. He is a chaplain. He's all around cool guy. Garrick Pang.
Get ready to get...
We're going to get panged today. Absolutely. We have with us Brent R. Baker.
Author, photographer Brent R. Baker.
That's the song his wife sings to him every single night.
You know it.
What? Wait a minute. She doesn't?
He said, you know it.
Oh, you know it. Okay. I was just saying, come on. I'm just saying. And then we have with us the new guy, the rookie on the team, Sam Fernandez. Welcome. Where's your soundbite, Sam?
Oh, I don't have a soundbite. I'm sorry. I haven't come up with it. I'm a rookie. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask you, Sam, right off
the
the
walk-up
cuff.
music.
I have to ask you, if you had a walk-on song, what would it be?
It would probably be Headstrong by Trapped. That'd be my...
All right, we'll have to look that one up.
You'll have to look that one
Tell
up.
us a little bit about...
I'm 33 years old. I have a wife and 4 kids. I'm from Florence, Montana. And yeah. Shout out to my Montana peeps.
Okay, and that's why he has a Midwest taste in some of his teams, which we're all okay with.
See, with the Packers is you can choose from when you're from Montana, any team. We do have a lot of Seahawks, Broncos, Packers, and Steelers. Got to be the top 4.
Diversity is a thing there, and you see, we can learn something from that. They can all get along. I'm just saying. So there you go with your walk-on song. I love it, Sam. Welcome to the team. Now, Sam, you have played a semi-pro ball, right?
Oh, no. Yes, I have. Played 5 years of semi-pro football in the Rocky Mountain Football League and the Evergreen Washington Football League. Actually, we spent a year in. We were the only team from Montana in the Washington Football League.
Way to go. What position?
Yeah. I played quarterback and a little bit of receiver one of my years, my first year in the league.
Gosh, I wish I would have put money on that. I was going to say quarterback. I just thought quarterback. Your quarterback material. All right.
Thank you.
I want to welcome you to the team today. This is your first time as a rookie on My Michelle Live Sports Timeout, and we're so freaking glad to have you today. Guys, I'm excited because one of my favorite sports to watch is hockey. When you watch it live, I swear to you, watching it on television, I can take it or leave it, and it's the same as any other sports. I love sports, but watching hockey live, it's like, it's awesome. And in my town, second season for our Seattle Kraken, so it's been a lot of fun to watch. They had a nearly abysmal year last year. This year in preseason, they are undefeated. You guys, are you excited for hockey, or is it just me? Am I going to be talking to myself?
I have not, like you, experienced much live hockey, and so maybe that's what needs to happen. Michelle has to invite me to a Kraken game.
Oh, I see. That's how it goes.
I have recorded all the games, and I will watch them. I enjoy it because it's kind of like indoor soccer, but just I haven't quite gotten the bug yet, so.
I don't think you should ever tell a hockey player that it's like indoor soccer.
I was going to say.
I compare everything to soccer.
Words in places in Canada. I wouldn't even try to go up to the Great White North anytime near soon until this cools down, and I don't know how long that's going to be. But all right, so for those of you who are new to hockey, interestingly enough, guys, we do have a lot of women who watch because this is one of the few, if any, sports shows where a woman's actually doing more than just standing there being cute and letting guys talk. So, women are like, yeah, I like that. And women do come sometimes.
You do that as well, though, Michelle.
What?
At times you do that.
No, that's your job. That is your job.
I was gonna say, do you
That's
have a
what we
cute guy? Do you
hired
need
you
a regular
for.
cute guy to be your stand-in?
That's why we brought you on, Sam.
Truly, women do watch sports and sometimes come about it from a different angle. I've talked to women who go to the games. They have said to me it has all of the entertainment value of watching figure skating and the ice and the whatever they see in it, and yet it's got all the sports, and it's also got all the excitement of a boxing match. It's just, there's just a lot going on, and there's so much to take in that there is no way the camera can take all of the nuances that are happening, the sights, the smells, the cold air coming off. It is glorious. So I've talked enough. I want to hear from you guys. There are some things going on in the hockey world. 3 NHL stars announced their retirement Tuesday. Keith Yandel from the Panthers, Chara from Boston, and New Jersey Devils, PK Subban. All 3 said they're gone. They've had more than 10 years in. It's interesting beyond hockey that sometimes it's out with the old, in with the new. Do you ever find it hard in Major League sports when some of those old time favorites, the guys that you've been watching for a decade, are gone, and now you have to just fall in love with new players, so to speak?
It's still hard every day. Today, Brett Favre retired. Still is on my mind. I have to wipe away a tear now. It is. That was actually, I may have shed a tear in 2008 when Brett Favre, the first time, retired. After the next 3 times, it was like, okay, dude, just get it over with. But the first time that he retired, that was hard. And embracing Aaron Rodgers in the first season was slow, but now obviously can't complain there at all. But yeah, that was a very difficult. That was the first player that I liked as a kid was Brett Favre back in the early 90s. He was the 3-time MVP and was the quarterback of the Packers until I was 20 years old. That was 15 plus years of idolizing Brett Favre and seeing him going. It was a very hard day.
Yeah, it is. It's a weird thing. And then you have to welcome someone new, and it's like starting a new relationship. It just really is. Go ahead, Brent.
I think for me, when a guy retires and you can tell it's time, I usually don't have much of a problem with that. It can be sentimental, and a lot of times on the same team, you've got other younger guys that are already coming up and can establish themselves. I think the one that impacted me the most that way, we were living in Michigan when this happened, but when Barry Sanders retired.
Oh, yeah.
Barry Sanders retired from the Detroit Lions. He was still at the top of his game and one of the most unique and running backs and best running backs ever to play the game. And I think that if you were with a franchise that weren't perpetually in the toilet bowl as far as how they manage and build their teams, I think he would have played longer. And it's taken years for him to restore his relationship with the organization. But yeah, when he left, he was irreplaceable as a player, and he was still at the peak of what he was capable of doing. And those are the ones that are hard for me.
Could you imagine if he went to the Cowboys, though? Like, how much would have you guys hated him then?
Yeah, no, you can relate to that, Russell Wilson.
It is. I do think it is worse when a star player that's on your team goes and plays for someone else. So
yeah, like for the Patriots, fans, and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Tom Brady can retire too.
Yeah.
Totally real. That's difficult. And those are some of the star players. Sometimes there's players like, maybe you can relate to this, Garrick, as a soccer fan. I'll use our Seattle Sounders, who are our favorite football team, because some of us, I know you watch from all over the world and all over the U.S., but a lot of us are centered in Seattle. So if we have a little bit of a favoritism, forgive us. It's inbred. There's nothing we can do. It's in the water. But Chad Evans retired, and a lot of people are saying who a couple of years ago, and that was huge for me, not because he was this big star, wasn't like a Dempsey or someone, but because he was such a key player that maybe he played his position so well you didn't necessarily think about it, what it does to bring continuity to the team. Sometimes you have to readjust and re-find your team. More stories coming out of hockey. The U.S. and Canada are calling their players who are playing in Russia in their Continental Hockey League to leave the country. You just got to get out, because get this, anyone holding a Russian passport could be subject to call up for mandatory military service. Dudes, can you imagine being there playing football, Sam, or soccer or whatever it is, and you're there, you're playing, and then they're saying, yeah, you get to be in the Russian army military now. Congratulations.
Right. You're a citizen of the
Buzz cut, let's
Russia,
go.
yeah.
In a way, it's like the Sounders played this last weekend, and they were missing a bunch of players because they got called up for national team duty. So in a way, it's like national team duty in a sense. You'll be gone for more than a game or two.
If you're a foreign national, like you're an American citizen with a Russian passport in Russia, they could conscript you into the Russian
and that's how
army.
it's different.
So what happens if you're like an American woman in prison there on drug charges? Are they conscripting prisoners? Sometimes encountering reality can give you a fresh perspective.
Well, maybe there's some lessons to be learned. All right, guys, let's move over to football. There may be some highlights that you want to bring out from some of your favorite games. I totally want to hear about that, so get that in mind. In the meantime, the Bengals played the Dolphins, and there was a pretty scary injury. Brent, did you see this?
Yeah, this is about much more than just last night, and it's really difficult to watch like replays from Sunday's game, with Miami's game on Sunday with, forgive me if I don't get their last name pronounced right, Tua Tagovailoa. We'll just call him Tua here. He was injured in Sunday's game, and when he got up, it really appeared, watching the camera, as though he'd been concussed, and he was wobbly on his legs. His teammates had to help him off the field, and the team said later, no, it was his back and it was his ankle, and man, I really wasn't buying it. And I know they've got concussion protocols in the NFL. Something just doesn't seem right here. And then to turn him around and play again on Thursday, and then the hit he took last night, and this time they did rule that he had a concussion. He was briefly hospitalized, and again, they released him, and he went home on the plane with the team. And I'm just like, all the talk that there's been about safety in the NFL, it just feels and looks wrong the way they handled the Tua injury situation. And I hope that we get some more truth about what actually has happened here and plug the dikes, because that's, you can, if you get a second concussion in 5 days after a first, that can kill you. That's very serious.
Well,
so
yeah.
Watching this was scary.
There's some confusing things about that. Was he injured? Was it theatrics? What did he used to play soccer? Sorry.
Hey,
or
resemble
just,
that remark.
Are they just? I know it's weird.
never
You can
flop,
be
by the way.
prepared. Every time we say something that hurts Garrick's feelings on the show, he drops to the floor. He rolls around, calls for a red card. It's terrible. No,
Referee.
No, I'm wondering, was it theatrics or was it just bad protocol, Sam?
It looks to be more like bad protocol, I would say. They are supposed to have an independent neurologist and doctors who make that call, but for him to be stumbling around the way he was after the first hit last Sunday, to turn around, to come back into that game and then play on a short week's rest on the Thursday night game, doesn't seem right. I know they were talking about it on the Colin Cowherd show earlier today, that if a player looks like they're stumbling around, they should just be done for 8 days, automatic concussion protocol. But as a player, you don't want to do that, and you won't do that. You will not protect yourself. As a 20-year-old player, you're going to want back in the game. You're going to want to be around your teammates. You're going to want to play now. And that 50-year-old, I think is what they said, 50-year-old Tua will look back and say, thank you for pulling me out of that game. I know that I had a couple of concussions, especially when I was playing semi-pro, and I never removed myself from any of those games. And I ended up really wishing that I had removed myself from those games. We had a team trainer, but not a professional medical doctor on the sideline to help with those type of situations, who can say, hey, we're taking your helmet and you're going to rest. Because if they don't get that, no player is going to take themselves out.
Yeah,
so.
And by its nature, if you've been concussed, you're not thinking straight. So even if you're not 23 years old and full of testosterone, your brain's been scrambled, and you cannot be trusted to make the right decision there. because of the nature of the injury itself.
And yet, here on the other side, I wanted to talk about sometimes we go overboard in protection. We have Aaron Rodgers, who was talking about how he does not like the college football's targeting rules. And I've got to agree with him 100%. There's nothing more frustrating than watching a game and it's arbitrary. It has no consistency. I get the idea behind it, but all someone has to do is lower themselves a little bit, and that's not the guy who's tackling them's fault. And yet, boom, you're done. You're out of the game. Cops are on the sideline ready to escort you off. What the heck?
Right. It should be if a player, if they're going to call it like the way they do with that targeting, then it should be an offensive penalty as well. That if an offensive player lowers their head, then they should be automatically out. If they're going to call it one way, you got to call it both ways, and it is so unfair, especially on those pass plays over the middle where the receiver catches it and they lower their head and the defender has already started his tackling movement. What do you want him to do? Just take the tackle to his knees or with that helmet to his knees? So they've got to balance that out in one way or another, where it's more of a reviewable thing or something where it's not ending that game for that player and the next game, depending on if it's the first half or second half, where you are changing the trajectory of that player's season by one play. So.
Well put. Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Fernandez, the rookie, hits it out of the ballpark. Love it. Thank you very much. I think that was absolutely. You have to have some balance there, because in every sport, we've all of us who have played sports, if there's a rule, there's a way to exploit that rule, right?
Yeah.
Any other highlights from football that you guys want to bring up? College, pro, whatever it may be, something that you noticed this week that you think we should be talking about?
With our local Northwest flavor here, three of us from the Northwest, University of Washington and Washington State University were both started their seasons 3-0.
Oh, did you see how the Cougars couged it? Oh, my God.
Anybody ever wanted to know what couging it looked like? That game against Oregon on Saturday was the definition. That was
so disappointing.
It was tough to see. I like it when both teams are good, and I liked what Washington State showed when they went out to Big Ten country and beat Wisconsin. And
okay, is this phrase "couging it" just a Northwest thing?
Have you heard of that, Sam?
No, I have not.
All right, there's a couple of.
I'm guessing it's a bad thing. Did they almost lose the game because they fumbled it? I'm guessing it's some sort of blunder.
No, what it is
blowing lead.
Yeah, it's getting defeat from the jaws of victory. You just have this great lead, and then all of a sudden it all falls apart. So yeah, that's a Northwest term because it's happened a lot with the Washington Cougars.
It's dubbed by the by UW. So the University of Washington Huskies and Washington State Cougars have a huge rivalry.
Of course.
And unfortunately for those who are Coug fans, and be careful, Michelle, about alienating our Cougars out there in listener land.
They know it too. They were just as disappointed.
Yeah, I know.
They were the ones who were saying we couged it. All the love in the world to you guys, but I got to say, that was so heartbreaking and disappointing. I'm going to ask.
I actually was introduced to that term by Cougar alumni back in the 80s. So it's been around a long time, and it's part of their own milieu there.
What would it be called when the Washington Huskies lose to a FCS team last year? Would that be called husking it away?
I think that's not. I think the term there is not used on a family sports program.
Oh, okay. I mean, just shout out to my Grizzlies for taking down the Cougs last year. I mean, for the Huskies last year.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Do you know there are some funny things about sports. We create our own sports culture. And something I also didn't know, since I travel around the country a lot and I'm at different sporting events, that we have another term that is associated with sports called pre-funking. Have you heard of pre-funking?
No,
Okay, so
That's new.
new one.
pre-funking is a Northwest or Seattle term for what you do before the game. Now, some people will be
I've heard of that.
tailgating. We don't have, unless it's college, we don't have a great tailgating kind of community or setup here for our professional sports teams. But pre-funking is getting together. You get together at a bar or restaurant or wherever it may be, and you have a pre-function. And so there you go. So, guys, do you know of any other terms that may be local to where you grew up or where you're from that are a sports term? All right, you can think about that.
We have, we just call it tailgating for that. We have FTC, which is directed at our neighboring school, the Bobcats. And you can probably put together what that means. Also
Family
Also not
friendly.
family
not
oriented.
on a family-friendly radio show.
All right, all right,
You'll
okay.
see a lot of FTC. So if you ever see an FTC shirt that's maroon or something like that,
Now
you
we
what it
know.
means. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
we know. College playoff expansions, looking toward a 12-team format. We don't need to get into that today for the sake of time. I wanted to get into some weird news that is out there. Brent, you brought this to our attention. Coach body slammed a guy at a high school football game in Anaheim. Tell us about that, and I'll see if I can pull up the video.
I've been following some of the stuff that's been happening in Southern California this year, and it's like we've talked in previous weeks about how like society itself is going off the rails, and you're seeing it in sports. But this is what I'm trying to figure out how I feel about it. So there was apparently a student, but somebody ran onto the field during the game in Anaheim carrying a flag that whatever it had on it in the video I saw was blurred out. So it apparently was not a family-friendly flag.
It wasn't. It had a lot of profanity in it, so you can see the
Yeah.
video here.
One of the
He's running.
the coach is pursuing him is from the visiting team, and he grabs the guy, picks him up, and body slams him. Yeah, I'm like, that coach looks like he's still in his playing days.
I was going to say, still got it, man.
He still got it.
Got
That was crazy.
4.7-second 40.
And I've had a lot of complaints about flags and signs that really don't belong in sports. We support trans kids. Okay, but how is that supporting your team? I was in Vancouver, BC for a game, and there were supporters from Seattle there. And the guys behind me said, did they let protesters in or did they break in? They didn't know they were the supporters section. If you can't tell that you're supporting a team, maybe your message is more important. I'm just saying, maybe they need to be body slammed. I'm just saying, okay, never mind. There were a couple other weird stories.
I will say, I think if you go onto a field, you are at risk of becoming part of the game, and that is what happened to that kid.
Okay. You
It
got
probably
tackled.
It probably won't happen there again for a while.
I'm just saying.
High school football is a game of momentum. His team was probably gaining momentum, and this fan just was buying time, letting players recover. He needed to keep his team's momentum, so he's really just looking out for this team. And
Way to go.
great team, coach,
Way
player.
to go. Okay, a couple others for the sake of time. A Nebraska punter was forced to issue an apology on Tuesday. He was expressing favorable support of the new Prime Minister, Gloria Meloni, in Italy, because he said, wow, she has family-friendly, Christian type views. And so he was forced to issue an apology because apparently you do not get to have your own opinion. That to me was weird. A biological female volleyball player was banned from a locker room in high school for feeling uncomfortable changing with transgender teammate. Wow. You guys want to weigh in on these bad boys? Because I'm just saying, what?
I have Italian family. So my wife is full-blooded Italian, and her sister lives just outside of Naples, Italy.
So you're Italian
And
by marriage. We can tell.
I am
It
Italian
shows.
by marriage.
We can see it looking at you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go.
But there's so much apathy in that country around voting because people feel like, you know what, this is just a waste of time. Because the system is rigged and fixed. Everybody went out to vote, and people turned out because they are so fed up with the government there. There were billions of dollars given to Italy for the Italian economy and to help them post-COVID, and all of it went to green stuff. None of it went to the people. And so the people were just fed up. And this was one of the things that she campaigned on, Maloney, is on using those funds to help bring energy costs down, because people are being strangled by the high cost of living. And she is a populist. She's someone who people really support. And of course, if you listen to any of the pro-Europe stuff, they're saying that she's a fascist.
Everyone is saying, every news outlet here is she has ties to fascism. She's the next Mussolini, and I am not exaggerating.
It's
so to have
ridiculous.
A college player be told you must apologize for liking and saying I like these aspects is absolutely a violation of our First Amendment right to free speech, freedom of association, and it is freaking dangerous. It has no place in sports. It has no place in the United States of America. Where is that, coach? Body freaking slam whoever's responsible for that. I'm just saying.
It's a dangerous thing to almost compel her speech in that way, is that she's just sharing an opinion, and even a positive opinion, that she has to redact because it's not a popular view. That is a scary thing to think about, that it's essentially a compelled speech for her.
Absolutely is. It is so un-American. Yes, body slam him in Jesus' name. I'm sorry. Okay, so anyway, pray for her. There's that God story right there. Anyway.
Actually, it was a guy, and the punter, he was a sophomore, and he's from Montana.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so
Gotcha.
Major League Baseball.
No, it's okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. Point is still the same. Major League Baseball has been experimenting with pitch clocks throughout the minor leagues, and I'm so excited about this. According to what they're finding, it takes 25 minutes off the game, which is great because that's the biggest complaint. I love the length, most of the length of baseball, but there comes a time where I don't care who wins anymore. I just want to go home. They get to be so long. So this is a nice way to speed up the game. Kudos to our underdog team. We're not going to give the underdog report today, but our underdog team of America, the Seattle Mariners, pulled off a 10-9 win in the 11th inning last night. I was so excited. I was watching from the casino where I was watching comedian Rob Schneider, and the whole place just erupted. It was great. Guys, because of time, we want to get to our final shot where we go around the table and we give everyone a chance to shout out something, someone, something they believe in, something they just want to give kudos to.
Final shot.
We're going to start with Paying Us.
Get ready to get...
So my final shot goes to a soccer player. I actually thought about giving it to Prime Minister Maloney of Italy, but I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to have to redact everything on my social media. But I want to give it to a soccer player from, of course, the Seattle Sounders who went through something very similar to myself. Back in the end of April, I had hernia surgery, and I came back and I'm playing again. Played last night. We had a great come-from-behind win. The Sounders didn't have a come-from-behind win on the weekend, unfortunately, but Christian Rold came back after his hernia surgery earlier than expected, and he's doing really well, and he seemed to be playing okay.
Yay!
And he's just like he gets my Energizer Bunny award. That guy works so hard.
And it's sad
plays
because
for the national team, and
he's missed out on playing for the national team. That's true. That's sad.
Yeah.
But it's good to see him back. Brent, I know you've got another appointment, so I want to get to you real quick.
Especially since we didn't do our underdog report today. I will give mine to our Seattle Mariners here in the Northwest, who hopefully tonight, but certainly over the weekend, will break their 21-year drought of not having made the playoffs. And even better, our Rookie of the Year, Julio Rodriguez, should be back from the injured list on Monday and be ready for the playoffs and get to treat the rest of the country to him after his little introduction at the All-Star game and home run derby last July. So Mariners don't know who they'll play, don't know when they'll play, where they'll play, but they will be playing into next weekend, and we'll just see what happens. For a lot of people, they've never seen the Mariners play in the playoffs, and there's people on the East Coast that probably don't even know there's a team in Seattle. So we will.
Oh, ouch. That's funny. All right, let's go to the rookie, Sam Fernandez.
My final shot is to the person I looked up to most growing up as a kid, and that's Dave Dickinson. You guys probably don't know him, but he played for the University of Montana. I think it was 92 through 95. He was a 5'10", 190-pound quarterback, and inspired me as a short little kid who wanted to play quarterback. And everybody said, "You're too," but he inspired me to play. He was an amazing player. He ended up going to the CFL and playing for the Calgary Stampeders up there and winning a couple of Grey Cups. And he coaches up there in the CFL too. And just want to give a shout out to the guy who just inspired me to love the game of football as much as I did.
I like it. And I want to give my shout out to those players who, however they do it, sometimes, as St. Francis of Assisi said, preach the gospel and if necessary, use words. Freddie Montero, who scored a tying goal as Seattle took on Cincinnati this weekend, preached the gospel, and he did it without words. So you can watch this.
With a lot more energy. Nice ball for Freddie Montero.
He puts it in the net, and then he pulls up his shirt. He puts his hands up, gives glory to God, pulls up his shirt, and it says "Follower of Christ." He wears it. He wears it to every game. So for those of you, preach the gospel, but live it out. Score those goals. Do the right thing. Bring glory to God in the things that you do. Preach the gospel, and if necessary, use words. So that gets my shout out.
Awesome.
And so do you guys. Thank you for being with us today. And thank you for watching and listening, for your comments, for liking and sharing. Guys, thank you. God bless you. And thank you. God bless you. We'll check in with
For
you
more
next
fun, go to MyMichelleLive.com.